Hello, love, and welcome back to the Unshakable Soul Podcast. This is your space where we discuss and unravel the magic and mysteries of our human experience. Today, I have a monologue for you guys, and we are on episode 64. And the thematics are going to be revolving around authenticity, awakening, and the embodied woman. I'm going to be speaking about authenticity more in detail and what it actually is. And I'll also be speaking about our sexual energy as women and how we can utilize it to free ourselves. And I'm going to going at the end over about 5 to 6 practices to help you reconnect with your greatest power, your energy, in your body. And throughout, I'm going to be weaving in some contemplation, some journaling prompts that you can ponder on after you listen to this. Okay. So, I'm going to begin right now with just a short introduction to give some background into this thematic that we have today. So, there's many women today that are waking up to the realization that they've been living a life shaped by fear, obligation, and external validation. And that somewhere along the way, they began suppressing their own desires, their own life force energy, right? And instead of becoming the woman that is authentically alive and radiant and here to nourish and nurture a community, her family, and truly tapping into her gifts and living from her heart, she becomes the people pleaser. She becomes the overachiever. She becomes the perfectionist or the controller. Do any of these sound familiar to you? I know one or two of them do. So this, for a lot of the parts, is really shaped by your own upbringing and society and the culture that we live in this day and age. We've been told that our desires are dangerous, our sensuality is shameful, our bodies need fixing to fit into a certain mold, and our power is way too much. Our emotionality, our energy is too much. And these are all lies that we've been fed and that we've unconsciously agreed upon. And these lies have inevitably disconnected us from the deeper parts of ourselves, our feminine truth, our sexual energy, and this felt sense of wholeness and home within our own bodies. So what happens is that we reject ourselves, we shame parts of ourselves, we self-abandon because it's easier and safer to put all your energy and attention out there on another person and whatnot. Okay? And what is the cost of this? Suppressing your life force energy, your own truest, deepest desires, doesn't just numb you and your pleasure and your ability to receive from life all the abundance that's here for you. It numbs your greatest gift as a woman, your intuition, your voice, your creativity, and your ability to live authentically. And through my experience, from the many women that I've coached and just the spaces that I'm in, that I listen to attentively, what's the feedback being given and being shared, the stories being shared, there's no greater sorrow, for lack of a better word, than to not live authentically, right? And this is what creates this void within you that we try and fill with people, projects, places, escaping, numbing, whatever, addictions, because there's a void within you that doesn't believe that you deserve what you truly desire, that you are enough, that you are worthy. And this is the big wounding that we need to address. Okay, realizing that you are enough. Your worth is innate. It's who you are. But the work is really allowing yourself to show up authentically, right? That's the crunchy part. So I hope that this podcast episode helps you and gives you the tools, not only the insights and mental comprehension of, oh, what is the root of the reason why I always people please, for example. It actually also gives you the practical tools that you can start reconnecting with your body so that you can start reclaiming your power, which in essence is protecting your energy, cultivating your energy, and channeling your energy to what actually is meaningful for you. Okay? And the last part I want to talk about for this little introduction is your sexual energy, because this is what I want to share. Right off the bat, when I say sexual energy, there's something that came into your mind or in your body perhaps that caused maybe a trigger, a resistance. Something came up, right? And a lot of this is related to the misconception and the perspective we have on the perception we have on sex and our sexual energy. The truth is that your sexual energy is not just about sex. It's literally your vitality. It's your joy. It's your creativity. It's your ability to feel. Not only to feel, but to heal and awaken. Okay? This is your most precious and valuable energy and gift as a woman. And look at this. It's been suppressed and denied and shamed for so long. We've been keeping it down to fit into the mold, to be the good girl, to not be too much. But that game's over if you want it to end. The narrative is over. Right? It's time for you to really feel the woman that is coming online right now, because inevitably it's being felt. With everything that's going on in the cosmos and everything that's shifting, all the planets that are shifting, all the planets not right now in retrograde at this space and time that I'm recording this, July 31st, a lot is being rewired within us. And inevitably, if we see the planets as parts of ourselves, we are being rewired internally too, for we are not separate from the cosmos, even more us women, that we basically birth new ways of living and loving into this 3D reality. We are connected through the womb to cosmic creation. So we feel this even more, right? Especially now with the moon cycles. When you start to live in rhythm with the moon, you realize there's a cycle to everything. My energy changes, and that's beautiful. My mood changes, my creativity changes, and I can learn to move with life instead of resisting life. Okay, so when we reclaim our energy, our sexual energy, our chi, our Shakti energy, our Kundalini energy, there's a lot of different words that are mentioned out there in the spiritual space, but it basically comes back to your life force energy, your energy. This energy becomes the most important force for your liberation. And not only for you, for everybody. Because remember, when you heal and free yourself from the stories, from the beliefs, from everything that is keeping you small, keeping you from realizing your fullest potential here on earth, you automatically and inevitably will liberate others. Because you become a living example of what is possible when you choose yourself and your path with integrity. So take a deep breath and exhale out. We're just getting warmed up, friends. I have some notes here because knowing myself, things are going to go left, right, and center, and I might drift a little too far from the thematic. So bear with me. All right, so that was a little introduction for the thematic. And here, right now, I want to share a little bit more about what it actually means to live authentically. Okay, this is based, again, everything is based off of my lived experiences and what I've been gathering from the collective, what I've been observing, what I've been listening, and what I've been feeling into. Okay. So living authentically is not just like a lifestyle image or like a nice saying, because I know that's also a word that gets thrown around a lot, like authenticity, and like we may already have a preconception or a notion of what that means, and that's great. We can journal about that to really put on paper what is actually the belief that is running behind all these charged words, let's say, just like sexuality or sex. Authenticity and living authentically is, to me anyways, it's about being radically honest, embodied, and aligned with your truth. So I see authenticity more as a felt experience, not as a thought or just as a word that we put out there, right? And you can only begin to live authentically when you're no longer in the performer, the pleaser, and the pretender roles. There's no more masks, right? And I'm going to go even above that. We realize that we play roles in our lives. We realize when our mask is on. But let us not be fooled into thinking that that is our true essence. Your ability to put on the role of the mother, the daughter, to have all these different identities, let's say, or I like to call them the archetypes, right? They're part of us. As women, we are multifaceted beings. So we can take on different shapes and forms. And that is part of the beautiful tapestry of what it feels like to be a woman, to be an embodied and expressed woman. But let us not mistaken these archetypes, the lover, the seductress, the crone, like the wise woman within you, the one, the huntress, the one that's going after her dreams and their goal. Let's not mistaking them for wounded parts of self that are seeking for attention, that are afraid of conflict, so escape. Right? No, a woman that's fully authentic and embodied is embracing all of life and all of its experiences, and understands that her, in each phase of her life and in each phase of the lunar cycles too, her energy, as I mentioned, changes. Her mood changes, her creativity changes, right? Her behaviors are shifting based on the barometer that is her body, her energy. So she knows that there is a time to be online and be fully in the light, like the full moon. She is hosting, she is gathering people, she is in full bloom. And she also is honoring when she is retreating, when she's setting her boundaries, when she's taking more me time. And if we don't honor these, let's say, facets of her, the capital H of her being, the feminine, then we are going to be going into the distorted manifestation of a woman who is living from a place of wound, in a place of needing, in a place of attention seeking, right? Needing external validation and attention, or a place of complete shutdown and protection. So armoring up, burying, there's fear there. Okay? So this is where the tendencies to please, to perform, and to pretend come into place. And they can work for some time. Maybe they've served you and helped you cope up until now. But let us not be fooled by thinking that they will continue supporting you. Because inevitably, if you're listening to this and you're on a path awakening and you know there's something deeper within you that wants to come out, different way of living and loving, then these behaviors, limiting behaviors and toxic behaviors, self-abandoning behaviors are no longer being useful. Okay. So you may be asking, it's like, okay, cool, Sophia, like this is nice. Like I notice I've been pleasing a lot, or I know this pattern in me, but like, how do I break it? I have one simple word: your body. And yes, of course, you can use mindset techniques and mindfulness tools and affirmations and whatnot and silent retreats. Like there's so many gateways in. I teach embodiment for women because the deepest level of ingrained memory, of ingrained wisdom and gifts, when you realize the pain is hidden deep, when you realize the gifts and the pleasure and the power is hidden deep, it's in your body. It's in the sacred wisdom centers for us women, which are our womb, our hearts, and our inner vision. And you can add the throat. Okay? So our body, through our body, we have access to a portal of awakening. The body is the portal of awakening. It's the vessel. It's the temple. We pray in the temple. We have the altar at the heart. This is self-devotion. This is self-love. So it's not an intellectual process. Yes, you can read the books, you can listen to the podcast, but at the end of the day, the integration is through the body, through your nervous system, through a deep recalibration and rewiring, and then an alignment for my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So that when I step out into life and be in life, it's not about being away from life and retreating forever. No, this path is about fully in life. But who are you now? How are you showing up? So it's radical responsibility. To live authentically is to become radically responsible for your thoughts, beliefs, emotions that are all related to truth. And if it's not truth, it's illusion and lies. And are you willing and do you have the courage to face that? Because a lot of us don't. It's easier to live in the lie, in the falsity, until it can't anymore and it breaks you open. So instead of waiting until that moment happens, which a lot of quarter half-life crises are about, just this real big misalignment from your truth, why not bring in the compassionate curiosity to how you've been living up until now? All the beliefs that have shaped the person that you are and what you've attracted into your life at the end of the day. And choose differently. If what you have is not actually what you want. So the number one question I always ask people, and I always ask myself, is what do you want? And that is a very deep question. And when you answer it, if you want to answer it now, it could be later, it could be in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year. It's deep. It requires honesty. What do I want? And when? Answer. I want respect, let's say. And when I have that, what becomes possible? Interesting. So take a breath in. Exhale it out. There's a lot of things I'm sharing right now that could be triggering, which I'm cool with. But if at any point this becomes too much, just shake it off and you could press pause and come back to this later. So the journaling prompt I have for this section is the following. Where in my life am I still performing or suppressing parts of myself in order to be accepted, loved, or safe? You can pause that, rewind if you like, take a moment, pause this, reflect on it, or do all the journaling at the end as you wish. So that was a little bit of a context for explaining what authenticity is or feels like for me anyways, and what I've experienced and what I am experiencing on my own journey. So feel for you, what's resonating, whatever is not resonating, you can always chuck it in the fucking bucket. This next section, I want to talk about women's sexual energy. This other word that perhaps triggers us, sexuality, even sensuality, and just wrapping our minds around this word. Let's see if this could invite in a little bit of a perspective shift. So in essence, sexual energy has been demonized, distorted, and hypersexualized. Okay? And it's never fully be honored for what it really is. As I mentioned before, your sexual energy is your life force energy. It's the juice within you that propulses you forward. That energy that rises in your spine, that lights up your eyes, that gives you this like fire in your belly, this creative power within you that births new realities. Yes, it could also birth a baby, but it could also birth a project, a relationship, an idea. It has divine intelligence. Your energy knows how to move through you. What's been happening is that a lot of us have been just flat out disconnected from our bodies, so not even aware of this energy, and we've been depleted of the energy. So we've numbed ourselves, or we've just depleted ourselves to the point where there's no more battery. So we're disconnected from our own healing power. And we have a false illusion that all the answers and all the healing is out there. In another person, in another book, in a podcast. And I'm not saying that you cannot heal with another. My greatest healing has come in relationship, romantic relationship. But it was only a mirror to the relationship that I was having with myself. Everything is a reflection of your own internal belief about what is possible for you and how you view yourself, how you view life. Everything you attract in will be resonating at the same energy level, at the same frequency, at the same vibration. Right? So if you look at your life and you don't like what you have or what you see, then it's just a direct mirror of what you don't like and what you don't see in yourself. So wherever you are resisting in life, in yourself, there is a wounding there, and there is a belief. Okay? Now, when a woman reclaims her sexual energy, she becomes a channel for deep healing. And she liberates herself from the shame that's been consuming her, from the fear of being seen, the fear of being too much, the fear of rejection, of abandonment. And this is where it becomes a ripple effect for all the other women that have also been in the same situation. There's a lot of us, right? But it's not about becoming the rescuer and trying to heal everybody else, trying to save the world. Because I know that's a tendency for women. We want to nurture another. And it's beautiful. But if you don't heal yourself, you will not be able to be a healing power to anybody else. Okay? And this is the thing. When you start activating your sexual energy, basically, again, your life force energy, and we've all felt something, whether it was in a breath work, in an ecstatic dance, even a yoga class, in a meditation, of something coursing through your body. A lot of the times women start, they get afraid. And they're like, whoa, that was a lot. Right? So we want to come into a space when we create enough safety in our bodies, in ourselves, to feel that energy and to allow it to rise. And yes, shit is going to come up, and that's the point. It's coming up to be felt, to be released, so that you can be free. So yes, the guilt will come up, the fear, the shame, the not feeling good enough, the feeling abandoned. It's all going to come up through the body. And our job and our responsibility is to hold that pain, that grief, that sadness, that rage. It's all going to come up. And to alchemize, the emotional alchemy happens in the heart. When you realize the underlying thread is love, it's a fierce love for yourself, for life, for the universe, for everybody and everyone. And most importantly, for yourself. Okay. And what happens, I'm going to end on this note for this section, when we repress our sexuality, that life force energy within us, when we do not honor it, when we don't protect our boundaries and set our boundaries to cultivate our own energy, to make sure we're always filled, our cup is filled, then that's directly going to suppress our voice, so our authenticity, our self-expression, our power, again, the creative power in our womb, in our body, that sensuality, that force that wants to create new ways of living and loving. And it's going to suppress our purpose and our truth. Right? Again, because of all these limiting beliefs that we may have, that's causing us just to stay small and to deny ourselves from any deep felt sense of love, joy, and abundance and radiance within ourselves. Okay? So the journaling prompt I have on offer here is the following. What beliefs was I taught about my sensuality or sexuality growing up? How are they still impacting me today? Okay. So I use both words, sexuality and sensuality. Sensuality, the word sense is in there. As women, we're sensual beings. Okay? So our life force energy, the way I see it, is that your sexuality is nourished and fed by your senses. Right? The sense of smell, the sense of touch, the tasting. I want to taste life. I want to taste this delicious chocolate, strawberry. I want to stroke my skin. I want to feel the wind in my skin, in my hair. There's a lot of potency. Like I want to see this beautiful smile. I want the sunrise. I want to feed myself through my senses and nourish myself through my senses. That's going to awaken my energy. And this is why nature-connected practices are so powerful for women. It brings us back to this home sense, this feeling of like I'm home, I'm whole, I'm part of this web of life, I am life. Okay? All right, so this next section I want to offer, you can pause this now and do the journaling, or as I mentioned, you can do all the journaling at the end. Next section is the practices to help you reconnect with your body and your sexual energy, and more particularly with your body. Again, if you're listening to this, this is a path of embodied awakening for women to reclaim your own unique self-expression. Okay? To step into your sovereignty. So, these practices are very embodied, right? And I realized, again, with verbal feedback, things I'm listening to, and the way I've moved through life and the way I've seen women moving through life, so many of us are so disconnected from our bodies. But as I mentioned, that the body is the portal, the body is the gateway in, to feel, to alchemize, to release, to nurture, to cultivate, to bring about, to create. Like, it's everything. So we have to get really comfortable with being in our bodies. That's number one. So here are 5 practices to help you just connect back to your body and get in touch with this life force, this energy that you have, this sexual energy that you have. Okay. So number one, like a preface to all these practices, is creating a safe space for yourself. Now, for some reason, if you don't have a safe space in your home, then I recommend going into nature in a quiet, secluded place. Okay, for these practices, or just to have some time, some retreat for yourself. For the most of us, we do have some space in an apartment or a house where we can go through our own practice and be with ourselves for a bit. So that could look so simple. Okay, this is the basis of what I teach. First thing I teach women is like, create your own little nook, your safe space. It could be a place in your room. It could be a separate room. You can have your meditation pillow, a soft surface, pillows, candles, gemstones, a rattle, feathers. There's so many things. You make it true for you. Okay, make it feel homey, make it feel pretty and beautiful, and like you're attracted to this place and that you really want to go to this place. Okay, this is your safe space. The number one practice is arguably the hardest. It's mirror work. So I call it mirror, mirror on the wall. So this is when you take a mirror and you just look at yourself. If you have never done this before and actually kept a gaze on yourself for more than a split second, then I recommend keeping your clothes on for the first couple times and just look at yourself and observe your eyes, your lips, how your facial expression. Observe your body, observe your posture. You can do this standing or seated. If you've done this already and you're ready to take it to the next level, do it naked. Right? Really look at you, but try and look further than the physical. First, yes, look at the physical, see the physical body, but can you go a layer deeper? Can you see emotions? And again, for all of these practices, it's inevitable that something is going to come up for you. Some emotion is going to come up because this is the work. We're bringing stuff up to be felt, to be released, to be transmuted into love. So making sure you're anchoring with your breath. And at any time, if it's too much, you can pause and just being curious throughout the experiences that you're having and noting, okay, there's resistance here. I feel resistance. And just that awareness on its own is very powerful because it's showing you this way. It's through the resistance that we go to liberation. It's not by avoiding it. Practice number 2 is simple placing one hand on your womb and the other hand on your heart. And most of you have probably already done this before, but have you actually connected and kept the hands? And you can add this to the mirror work. This one's beautiful to do it in tandem. So reconnecting to your body through sacred touch. Okay. And if it's something you're already familiar with, you're like, Sophia, I already do this, I want something more, then start adding a gentle massage on your heart. Or start one on your womb. Right? Again, there's a lot of shame with this lower abdomen, sacral chakra area of our bodies for a lot of us women. So just offering yourself gentle touch is very soothing and nurturing for us. Okay, and again, deep breaths through all these practices. So in through your nose, out through your mouth. That's aiding the release. You can always add a nice verbal exhale if you want. Ha. And then you can shift. You can just release. One hand on your womb, keep it static, and then just offer your sternum, your chest massage. Just activating your heart area. And just getting used to this touch. And just feel like you're grazing your nipples and your chest as well, and your boobs. Right? Just offering yourself this sensual touch and this intimacy. Right? Just noticing, like, maybe you're getting turned on, and like, are you kind of like just noticing what happens? Like, if you are getting turned on. This practice I love to do kneeling in hero's pose with my knees apart. Right? You could also do this seated, as you wish. And if you have really tight hips, then place 2 blocks or 2 pillows beneath your seat bones. That will just help ease the hips a little bit. Okay? So that's practice number 2. So practice 1, mirror work. Practice 2, the hand on womb, lower abdomen, and hand on heart. And if you like to add a little bit of a caress here, a little bit of a touch. Practice 3 is voice activation. Okay? So this is when you start tapping into this powerful throat gateway for your authentic self-expression. However it feels like coming out as. Maybe it's a hum. Maybe it's a sigh. Ah. Maybe it's a sound or a singing. Right? Dong, dong, ding, dong, 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 dong. Simple hum. Or maybe it's singing. La, da, 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 da. Whatever it is, with or without music. If you have a playlist, I have many playlists. So if you want to follow me, I have all these free playlists on Spotify. My account is the Little Mermaid 21. I'm going to add in the show notes. Feel free to look at whatever playlists I have. I've created many of them. I give you some inspiration. But notice what's rising within you. How is it that your voice wants to be activated? And maybe it's not, and that's okay, right? But this practice is offering us an opportunity to give voice to your body, right? So a lot of the times when you are feeling deeply, when you're activating your sexual energy, your life force energy, it's opening up the portal, this gateway to your throat, to your self-expression. So if you're feeling it rise, don't suppress it. That's the invitation. Let it come as a hum, as a sigh, as some weird sound, whatever, as a song. Okay. So this, again, the connection of womb, throat, this channel is very potent. Okay, and then we're realizing or noticing where there's blockage, where there's tension. So for me, for a lot of my life, this has been really, really close in my throat. That's why I have a lot of voice activation practices in my own practice daily. All right, number 4 is dancing. This is when you get to dance with life, when you get to dance with your emotions, with your shadows, with all the grief, the pain, the shame that's coming up to the surface, the fear. You get to dance with it, and you get to alchemize it through breath, sound, and movement. Movement is medicine in this case. There is, of course, a place for stillness and integration. That clarity that comes after the storm. That's the way I see it, right? When you're able, and then you're able to dance with both. The analogy I always give is the eye of the hurricane. You are the hurricane, right? And you are the eye, where there's peace and there's quiet, where there's deep connection to your truth. So for dance, the invitation is just to move your body in response to what is real and raw and alive in the moment. And it doesn't need to look pretty. So we're releasing the good girl, the having to look a certain way. You're letting yourself dance with your anger, with your grief, with your shame, with your joy. And you're moving it all. Okay? So this is when you're allowing the divine intelligence of your own energy, via that sexual energy, move in the places and in the way that it's meant to move. Because it's clearing out. It's creating space for the newer and truer, newer and truer. Okay. So, number 1, mirror work. Number 2, womb and heart little self-touch. Number 3, voice activation. Number 4, dancing, intuitive movement. And number 5, maybe number 6, but number 5, sensual presence. Okay. So this is when we're really connecting to our senses, and I'm going to combine it with number 6, which is basically connecting with nature, because as I previously mentioned, nature is a beautiful container for us to reconnect with our senses. Right? So we're tuning away from the noise, the hustle and bustle that a lot of us live in. Where if we're in our home, we're lighting maybe a candle, or getting some oil for our body, and we're maybe having a little music that's turned on that's conducive for an inward journey and experience. We're wearing beautiful clothes, comfortable, soft. We're in a comfortable place. We're in our safe space. And now we're moving slowly. We're breathing deeply. We're inviting touch so we can start stroking our body. And again, this is all intuitive. I'm just offering examples here for your sensorial awakening. Right? You're listening to what your body needs, not what the world wants of you. So whether this practice is 5-10 minutes, whether it's an hour, you choose the time frame that you want to dedicate for yourself and for this practice. Right? The most important is that you commit to this practice and you follow through, because that is directly telling you that you're worthy of this time of deep self-nurturing and nourishment. Okay? And I like to do both. So as I mentioned, the connection with nature is key to reconnect to our senses and bring us to a space of deeper connection to our truth, right? The elements, we are the elements, we are creation, we are Mother Earth. We house all these elements. So when we are in nature, inevitably, she's going to be speaking through us. So let's say if it's raining, it's beautiful because that's also going to be allowing maybe the sadness and the grief to come up, to be felt, to be released, to be transmuted. Same thing when it's very sunny. That joy, that aliveness is going to come up. Also, anger and irritability can come up. And observe that within you. And a lot of the times that anger is showing there's an inability, or a part of you is not able to stand up for your truth, for yourself. Okay? So we can utilize nature as a way to reconnect with our truth. Right? We can get into water. We can feel, right, the water on our skin. We can breathe in the fresh air. I love to go on my bike rides because that's for me freedom in the form of a bike and the ability to roam around with no particular destination, but just to feel alive. Right? there's the earth, there's the gardening aspect. So notice like what it feels like to bring your hands in the soil, to eat nourishing foods with love and reverence for your own body, your temple, your vessel. How does it feel like to walk a little slower, to walk barefoot perhaps, right? To receive from life, to notice the bounty and beauty around you. And can you actually see that as a reflection of what's within you? So the sensorial presence becomes a living ritual in your day-to-day when you bring the sacred into the mundane. And this is what I teach and what I offer any women that come into my space. It's not about going on a retreat and being away from life. No. It's bringing the divine, the mundane, the sacred into the everyday life, into the rawness, into the imperfections of being a human. And realizing that through it all, I get to be here. I get to be alive. I get to share my gifts. I get to cry. I get to laugh. I get to sing. I get to dance. I get to live it all and feel it all. And that is a gift. Take a deep breath in. Exhale out. That was a lot. And if you've made it this far with me, thank you for being here. And if you haven't, that is completely okay. Maybe you pressed pause. Maybe you came back because there's a lot of content in this episode. So a little journaling that I want to offer for this section is the following. Little prompt. What would I say, feel, or do if I fully trusted my body and my truth? Okay. So I want to kind of close up this episode with the following. Reclaiming your sexual energy is not about becoming like a sex addict, right? It's really about becoming more you, becoming more authentic, showing up more authentically in your truth. And that requires you to sit with your emotions, to sit, to move through, to breathe through, to sound through all the experiences that have caused you some form of pain, feeling of not being good enough, not being worthy, of shame, of guilt. This is the work, to hold that charge, to hold it long enough to watch it transmute into love. Not a fluffy, superficial love, a deep-seated love that is basically a devoted love to whatever is being created within you. The love for life, the love for your body, the love for yourself, for your family, for your community. So you're no longer resisting life. You're no longer resisting your own call. You're no longer dimming your own life or diluting your own power to appease others, to not be in conflict, to not share your truth because you're afraid you'll be abandoned. This is what it is, what it means like to become an embodied, authentic woman. She's alive, she's radiant, she's raw, she's real. And she's not escaping anything. She's not spiritually bypassing her way through life because she believes like meditating for hours a day is the way to awakening. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with meditation in the classical form that a lot of us see this as. Gyan Mudra, seated and in a peaceful state, watching your thoughts. There's a space for stillness. There's a space for the integration, for the alignment, for the clarity to come through. That is the eye of the hurricane. And there's also a deep space for the rawness of life, for the experiencing of the joy, of the bliss, of the ecstasy, of the love, the fierce love that you get to feel for yourself and for life, for another. And what about that? So when a woman feels this fullness, she's fulfilled, she stops shrinking, she stops pleasing, she starts honoring her boundaries, she stops pretending she's okay. The good girl goes away. She's not disrespectful, she's honoring of herself and her time and her energy. She stops pouring into people, places, and projects that actually don't nourish her and are not meaningful. Instead, she starts pouring into what is meaningful. She stops abandoning herself. And she begins to live, lead, and love in a way that is rewiring everything within her and everything around her. All right, loves, thank you for tuning into this episode. If you're interested in going deeper, there's a couple ways you can work with me. If you want to deepen into this journey of something within you during this conversation got you feeling like, oh, there's something here, I don't know what it is, but it's pulling me forward towards perhaps working more in this space of embodiment, of awakening my feminine energy, of reclaiming my feminine power, and living truly from a place of deep truth and authenticity, then I have an upcoming very fun offering for you. It's called Pleasure Portal. It's coming up actually in a week. So here I'm releasing this probably August 1st. And it's going to be Pleasure Portal the 7th, 8th, and 9th. It's an online journey. And this is where we really go into the embodied practices over 3 days, about an hour and a half sessions to 2 hours, on reclaiming this radiance, this birthright we have of feeling alive in our joy, in our bliss as women. Okay? So day 1, we gain a better understanding of everything that has been kind of clouding the truth that we are radiant and powerful and wise and lovable and so worthy of all the love and joy and abundance that we desire and long for. Right? The intimacy we long for. So I look at all the societal conditions that have brought us to this state of maybe numbing and people pleasing and performing. Day 2 is really when we get into the embodied practice and we start feeling the expression and the exploration of our own energy. Okay? And then day 3 is when there's the experience of what it feels like and mean like to be devoted, right? So it's the integration throughout the 3 days where I am anchoring into my truth and I'm gaining the clarity to help me align my actions, my words, my thoughts, my emotions as I step out of this portal. Okay, so day 1 is portal of truth, day 2 portal of expression, day 3 portal of devotion. That's how I phrased it or framed it. If you're listening to this after August 7th, 8th, 9th, don't worry. I'm going to be offering this because it's going to be recorded as a standalone workshop on my website. So keep a lookout for my website for this offering. And I also offer one-on-one embodiment coaching. If you're looking to really go deep in a personalized, tailored way, there are different containers that I offer to make sure that it's accessible for you, your budget, and your life circumstances. Okay? And finally, if you're maybe in the Ottawa region in Canada, I'm offering a women's retreat called Sacred Cycles. That's this September 19th to 21st, 2025 in the north of Ottawa. And that's really when we're going to be diving into our feminine rhythm, aligning with the lunar cycles, aligning with our own menstrual cycles. Even though you're not menstruating perhaps, you still have the energetics of the shifts within you. Okay, so it's really for every woman in every stage of life. We'll be looking at archetypal embodiments, and we'll be also tapping into rituals, food, and herbal remedies to support our hormones and our body as it moves through all the shifts and changes it's going through monthly, weekly, daily, yearly. Okay? So if this sings to you, then all the links are going to be, or one of these offerings, or maybe all of them, all the links are in the description of this episode, and as well as my email. If you have any questions, if you want to reach out to me personally, then feel free to do so. So much gratitude goes out to all the listeners here. And I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. Until the next episode, may you be well.